So I recorded part 1 about 3 weeks ago, and I guess after seeing the somewhat meager reception, I decided that I wasn't going to do this video. But recently, I have a lot of free time on my hands. I decided that I might as well make this series anyways, might as well continue it, because it's something that I just wanted to do. Know that I'm not saying that I'm going to stop releasing NBA content. This is just something I'm doing in the meantime. Part 1 is on my channel. I'll put it in the description. Try to get my previous picks in the description with any small changes that I might have made. And with that, we might as well begin part 2. So right off the bat at 75, we got WALL-E, which was a movie that I enjoyed quite a bit, especially in the first half when we get all these silent moments, little subtleties in order to tell a pretty beautiful love story. I just find that anytime that there's heavy-handed messages and it feels like a movie is trying to be too political, it does bother me a little bit, and that's my biggest issue. 74, we have a movie that kind of took me by surprise. I knew it was a Holocaust comedy, but I didn't expect it to be so charming and so lovable. Generally with this kind of content, it becomes difficult to blend the comedy with the tragedy, and I think that this movie definitely suffers a little bit in those aspects, but does a pretty good job at trying to introduce comedy into a tragic situation. At number 73, we have a Stephen King adaptation. There's actually quite a few of those on the list, but this one is one you might not expect, because Stand By Me, you kind of expect it to be a bit of a kiddie movie, something for a younger audience, but older demographic enjoy this amazing story of these 4 kids that remains charming. 72, I don't really think I have to say much about this one. I think people pretty much understand why it's here, why it's this high. That's Rocky, of course. From 71 to 69, we have what I'm going to call the Spielberg trilogy. We got Raiders, then Jaws, then Jurassic Park. These can kind of go in any order. I love them all about the same amount. I think that they're each pretty special in their own way. I think that they all embody kind of the same things that I really admire about Spielberg, which is his use of really well done practical effects, his telling of adventure stories that are really well constructed, the use of suspense, especially in Jaws. And yeah, I enjoy all of these quite a bit. 78 is Gladiator. The things I love the most, definitely Russell Crowe and Joaquin Phoenix. I think they're both brilliant in it. Definitely a movie that I could feel like I could watch a million times. You know, a Best Picture winner. I don't know. I love so many of the sequences and scenes. Some issues with some of the dialogue, I think, and some of the historical inaccuracies that are more blatant than others, even though they're few and far between. So there's little to complain about. 67, we have Les Intouchables, which is a French film. I was kind of surprised looking into this film that it has a very low Metacritic score. Apparently, it's not a very historically accurate telling of the story, and people say that it's a little too cheery for something that's supposed to be dealing with an intense subject matter. But to me, it seemed all really well done, really well constructed with a great tone. I love a good French film because I do speak French, and I like to see something that I can kind of understand in that language and see something done really well in that language, and I think this is an example of that. 66 is a movie that surprised me a lot, which is Brokeback Mountain. The performances, Heath Ledger, Jake Gyllenhaal, they tell a love story that I didn't expect to enjoy so much. They tell a love story that I didn't expect to be able to feel so much tragedy for. I haven't seen Crash, but I bet that if I had, I'd probably say that this did deserve the Best Picture. At 65, a classic that remains endearing, that you can watch a million times and never get sick of, and Back to the Future is definitely an example of that. The characters are all amazing, the plot is really well structured, and it's actually one of the best uses of time travel that I've seen in a film, with only a couple slip-ups, but there's so few that it's hard to really challenge it. Number 64 is Forrest Gump, a movie that I both love and also have issues with at the same time. It's probably a movie that I've seen at least 3 times, and I could watch again and not really have an issue. The soundtrack's amazing, and the story is just very enjoyable, despite the fact that it is a little ridiculous, which is the point. Ultimately, it's just a fun time. 63, Star Wars A New Hope lands right here. A very intricately made adventure story that feels well structured and well paced. I enjoy lots of it. I don't think it's the best Star Wars movie. I think that the fight scenes definitely were lacking in certain ways, and starved for action at times. But that's really my only big complaint with the movie. 62, we have The Usual Suspects, which is one of those movies that you have to see. I do have to admit that since watching this one early on, I have forgotten about a lot of it already, and most of what I remember is only the ending twist, a few crucial scenes between. 61, Django Unchained, just a fun time, just a fun movie in general. Little to complain about with Django. It's Tarantino at his most Tarantino. It's got the excessive gore, it's got the witty dialogue. I think this is one of Tarantino's most indulgent films, which is my biggest issue. I think that it could have ended some like 15 minutes earlier, and it kind of went a little too overboard. You know, overall, I really can't complain with this one. Number 60, much of the same about Django can be said about American Psycho. It does feel insanely indulgent in its own psychopathy. Can't help but enjoy the ride along the way. I think Christian Bale is fantastic and delivers probably his best performance I've ever seen. I love so much about it, while also feeling that it does seem to be overrated at times. 59 is The Pianist. I have to say, Adrian Brody is phenomenal in this movie, and I can't praise him enough for that performance. Definitely a subject matter that is covered a lot. We've already seen lots of Holocaust, World War II movies on the list already, and there's more to come, and that is probably my biggest issue, because this one kind of just falls into the mix. As much as it's difficult to praise Polanski these days, I have to say that at least in the medium of directing, he delivers something that is quite stellar with The Pianist. 58 is Casino Royale, the second Bond movie on the list, and my favorite Bond movie overall, I think. Daniel Craig is phenomenal as this character. The movie starts off with a breathtaking chase sequence that sets the tone for a exciting action film. Mikkelsen is phenomenal as the villain, and in general, the movie it's one of the best action movies in recent years. Number 57, I think that the characters are phenomenal. I think that Gary Oldman is absolutely stunning as the villain. I have always heard about great Gary Oldman performances, but I feel like I've only seen him as Commissioner Gordon, and after seeing Léon, I can understand why he has such a great reputation as an actor, because he was just great as this character. At 56, Blade Runner is a movie I remember little about, but what I do remember is the aesthetics, the insane feel and vibe to the movie, the colors and the music and the designs of the world are all things that I can just appreciate so much. And I think it's one of the most ambitious and thoughtful sci-fi movies in the history of film. And as much as I might not love it as much as some new modern sci-fi movies, its sequel, for example, I can still appreciate everything that is done for the genre and the medium. At 55, we have The Lion King, which is one of the best Disney animated movies, if not the best Disney animated movie. The 2D animation is something that I enjoy a lot and I miss in modern animation, and the voice acting is phenomenal, as well as the stunning score by Hans Zimmer, which also can't go forgotten. Number 54, we have Terminator 2 Judgment Day. This is just one of the funnest action films that you can watch. I think that James Cameron employs amazing special effects. It's a movie that doesn't try to extend itself, doesn't try to be something that it isn't, and in that way it is something amazing and something great in the action niche that it inhabits. Number 53 to 51, we have the entire Lord of the Rings saga, all back to back to back. What they were able to do with those films is simply amazing. Lots of the practical effects are really breathtaking. I think that the order I'd take is Two Towers, then Fellowship, and then Return of the King as the best, but it can really go in any way. So that's part 2. Hopefully more people catch on to this ranking series that I'm doing. If not, that's fine. I'll probably still continue. I'll probably still release a part 3 and a part 4 soon. If someone happens to stumble upon it, great. If you guys want to share your rankings, or you want to share your thoughts, or criticize my thoughts on the movies, then go right ahead and comment below, and make sure to like and subscribe for more content.